This is the Artist Entrepreneur Podcast. We are your hosts, Amanda Ritchie, Noah Dock, and me, Kerry Wee. We're three artists brought together by the love of circus and dance. Amanda from the world of Cirque du Soleil as an aerial soloist. Noah, our academic, and me from the commercial dance world. This is one of the greatest jobs in the world, but it comes with uncertainty. Each episode contains insight on how to pursue art-based businesses. We'll have a variety of guests and have lively weekly Discord. Tune in every week to hear our perspectives on the minefield that is the artist's way of life. So listeners, our guest today, Eric, he's actually living in currently, and correct me if I'm wrong, my hometown, Granville, Ohio. Is that correct?
I'm doing life in and around Granville, Ohio. Yeah, my actual mailing address is Alexandria, which is right next door.
Yeah. I spent time there too. So, Eric, if you would introduce yourself, a little bit about yourself, what you do during the day, just about you today, and then we'll kind of go back because I'm friends with Eric's son, Caleb, and he talks about you all the time. So I know from that perspective, but I'm so excited to hear from you.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks for giving me this opportunity to be on and talk about the place we love. My name's Eric Mize. I am almost 60 years old next month. 20 plus year resident of Alexandria, Ohio, right next to Granville, and still married to my bride of now almost 40 years.
Wow. Impressive.
I don't know how we got here, but I'm thankful we did. We've two kids, both adults now, two boys, of which I am overly proud, and two granddaughters. And I am also the co-owner of the Front Porch Guild, which is an art studio and gallery, South Main in Granville, Ohio.
Oh my God, I have so much nostalgia around Granville. I lived there ever since I was 5 years old to 18. And it was a very interesting place to grow up because I remember when they put the Wendy's in Granville, which is the very edge of Granville, and there was all this hullabaloo because they didn't want anything commercial.
Yeah.
In the village, and still they've stuck to it for the most part.
For the most part, we have Chipotle now on the south end, which was also a big splash.
That was it's a big news for a little Granville. But what it does is it keeps. I mean, I think that Granville is in this book that I saw that like one of the most idyllic towns in America type of thing. And I just came to visit because I had my 30-year high school reunion, and I drove through and went to see all my houses that I had ever lived in. We moved around a lot because my dad, he just get a little impatient. He wants to have a new house, but it's just so well kept. Like it's the most beautiful, green, lush little town I've ever experienced. Denison University's there. So what is so interesting to me, because I'm an artist as well, but I was doing it in LA for so long. And honestly, I didn't really know how an artist does life where I grew up. First of all, I never met anybody who that's their trade, that's their craft there. And that's a lot of what I want to talk about today, because kind of like having a business, what it's like to be an artist entrepreneur, it's just so intriguing to me because I've done it elsewhere, but I haven't done it there. Yeah. So tell me, how did art start in your life?
It started a year early. I mean, I was always a doodler and a drawer that just, from as early as I can remember. And I did have a very influential teacher in junior high school. My junior high school art teacher, Mr. Reichert. You've seen Mr. Holland's Opus and Dead Poets Society.
Yeah, was he like that?
Oh my goodness. It was a real life inspirational teacher like that.
Wow.
I credit him, not just for, legitimizing the artwork, but just being such an encourager. He made it a safe place for, a fat little kid to be okay. And
Okay, I just saw you. You were quite a not fat adult.
Yeah, stress will do that.
So you had like a Robin Williams-esque. I had one of those too, and I think that any child person is lucky to have even one of those in their lives. A
Yeah,
teacher like that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize until much later in life how rare it was. Really
Yeah.
appreciate everything you did there.
And so at what point in your journey was that? Was he a part of it?
Yeah, it was junior high school. So, in where the school system I was in, that was seventh, eighth, and ninth grade.
Okay, and at that time, what was your medium? Were you painting? Were you drawing? Were you sketching? Were you using
Yeah, I was
charcoal? All the
just
stuff.
learning. So it was all the stuff. We did have to draw every week. I remember the discipline of a weekly drawing that we had to do, and that's a good practice that I wish I could still keep up with, just to be drawing all the time. So if you're artistically inclined, I think drawing is to an artist what push-ups are to an athlete.
Mm-hmm. Or just putting words on a page if you're a writer,
Indeed.
right? Just writing every single day.
Yeah.
And so after you left high school, or I'm sorry, junior high school, did you continue that in high school and in college, if you went to college?
Yeah, I'll try and give you the short version of the story. I mean, was an art student through high school, and basically, by the time I graduated, I took the engineering scholarship instead of the art scholarship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Was that a hard decision?
it wasn't so much at the time. I mean, at that time, it was a generation of the first Top Gun movie, and
Yeah.
and that was very appealing to me, and I wanted to go in that direction. So the Air Force gave me a scholarship to study engineering and then go to flight school. So I did go that direction, and my parents were not disappointed with that decision. Although they never discouraged my artwork, and in fact, they remained very supportive of it. But yeah, at that point in my life, that's the direction I took.
And so were you a pilot?
I was not. The Air Force decided they didn't like my mitral valve in my heart.
Oh,
So
okay.
I wound up shockingly actually becoming an engineer, and I was an engineer on active duty for 9 years, and then had a 30-year career as an electrical engineer.
Wow. Okay. So did you love it? Did you love being an engineer?
No. I mean,
A simple answer.
the short answer is no. I didn't hate it either, right? I mean, I found that there was a lot that I really appreciated. I always enjoyed the science of what we did. I appreciated that I was fortunate to work with some really bright people at each stage of the game, and so I wouldn't trade it. But it clearly, engineering for me was a learned skill, not an innate skill, if you know what I mean by that.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you, because not a lot of artists have, because those are kind of like two types of brains almost.
Yeah, two sides of your brain. Yep.
And so when you tried to tap into the engineering side of your brain, was it a struggle? Was it like, are you good at math? Are you good at science?
That's funny.
Naturally?
Here's where I credit my dad. I was like basic math up until the ninth grade, and he insisted I was going to take algebra, and I was in tears because I never did well on the screening test, etc. But then I got this fantastic algebra teacher who taught us to think in a structured way, and I got A's. And I just approached it differently and was able to. Now, I was never really just naturally gifted in math. But I did learn how to tackle it in a disciplined way, and it worked out.
So, for example, my partner's a musician. I'm a dancer. And I don't have to, for me to move, I don't have to think about it. It just happens. For him, he doesn't read notes, he plays.
Yeah.
If you were to put in categories of your engineering self and your art self, would either of those go in that category for you?
Yes,
where you did not have to think.
I can relate to that, right? Certainly, art just came naturally to me. It was who I am. Yeah, and the math and the science, like I said, it's interesting. And
you learned it,
but yeah, it was definitely something I had to learn along the way. Yeah.
So your son has told me a couple times in the last week or so that I've seen him. He's like, you have to really, really ask my dad because he has some crazy, incredible stuff that he did with the military and with his electrical engineering, and he's not going to tell you.
Well, it's not quite that mysterious.
No, but what is he talking about? Like there's a patent, or he developed a certain thing for the military?
Well, I got to work on some interesting things when I was in active duty.
Okay.
That's true. Some of which I'm not supposed to talk about. But not
confidential.
A lot more boring than you can imagine. But yeah, the patented work actually came later in my career. I was able to work with some colleagues on an invention. So I'm a named inventor in a couple of patents.
Oh, wow.
That have to do with network capacity planning. And I mean, and again, those are the kind of experiences you wouldn't trade. It was a fun, great, enriching thing. But compared to a great many engineers out there, I'm just kind of mediocre.
Okay, well, I'm not even close to an engineer, so you're the most high one that I know. The things that you patent, like how, like, educate me on like where in like society they would be now, like.
Yeah, I think my name's probably on those kind of patents that just kind of sit on a shelf and collect dust. There was no kidding invention at the time. We had developed a proprietary algorithmic approach to forecast the amount of bandwidth you needed at a given retail location, depending on the mix of what type of traffic you needed, whether you needed streaming video or interactive video. You think of all the different types of data that we had to share across the network. And it turns out the math to figure that out is not straightforward. It's not linear, and you have to use a statistical approach. Well, we used a statistical approach to combine a number of deterministic equations and then arrive at a proposed bandwidth which was both economical and likely to meet the need. And then we packaged that into a user interface with a web front end and APIs in the back end to get the data. So that was the invention. So that instead of people were in our industry at the time were doing everything from putting their finger in the air and guessing to simply buying whatever the carrier told them to buy, which was always more than they needed. And so we were doing the math. And in fact, that's kind of where my team got this reputation in the firm is we do the math. That's what that was our motto. It was fun.
Well, I mean, I don't know anything about this stuff, but it would seem that this base is being used already all over the place because we've only gotten more data centers. We've only gotten more streaming services, all that stuff. So it is relevant. It just happens to be more at the birth of it, right?
Yeah. And it's, one approach, and it was good work. It was, very rewarding.
Okay. And now you own a gallery. So you co-own a gallery. So when did you decide, how long has this been in the world? I came and I actually wanted to stop in, and I just ran out of time because 3 days is not that long to be home. But how long have you had your storefront?
It was 2 years in September.
Okay. Now, what has this experience been like being a small business owner in the arts?
It's been overwhelming is probably not too strong a word. It's been a stretch to try and bear in mind, I'm still a very new artist. So, taking on oil painting as a vocation is my second career. So I still feel like I'm still learning, growing, and trying to develop. And at the same time, we decided to do this collaborative and open the gallery. So it's been stretching. Any small business is very demanding.
Yes. And
to try and do that and create artwork at the same time, it's been a stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an aerialist. I mean, you know this because your son takes a lot of aerial. And I own my own business. I am not owner of a brick and mortar though, which changes it extremely, like a lot. Obviously, did you have a digital business before? Did you just sell your paintings online, or have you not done
that? Theoretically, but that was not very viable. Yeah.
Okay, so what would you say is your percentage split, like between your creative time and your business, making it run, making it survive time?
That's a good question.
What's this percentage?
Yeah, it depends from week to week. I can get buried in a painting and want to get it done for an opening or something, and give it more time than usual. But on a typical week, again, here's where my engineering mind takes over. So I went to my calendar and just start setting up time on everyday schedule. At this time, put away the paints and start working on the digital marketing. So if you look at that, it's more like 2/3 of the day for no kidding artwork and 1/3 for the business side of things. And then of course the weekend is all business because I've got to do at least one day at the gallery, and then we often have events.
Right. So would you say you're working 7 days a week right now?
It feels like that. It does. It's probably a bit of an exaggeration.
Maybe 6, maybe 6.5.
Yeah, definitely 6. Yeah.
I'm an artist entrepreneur. I just took a new job on teaching Pilates during the day because it just wasn't enough hours. I also have a young child. She's 6, and we're in that school time, right?
Wow.
So 7 days a week, 100% for me. And I don't know how long that's going to last. I don't know how many years that's going to be, but it's already been years, and it's going to be years in front of me. And I do think that it's less fatiguing than working for somebody else for that many hours a week. Because you're not, I see my friends who are working for other people 100%. And on the weekend, they have no brain cells towards that job at all.
Yeah.
And that is so foreign to me. It's foreign. And it's a very different way to live life, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you've got to value and invest in your kids too. You're in that stretch of life where they actually like you a lot. You only get one shot at that, and it goes fast.
Yeah, and she already, I don't feel that guilty because I actually really broke it down. Like when before she started full-time school this year, I was with her all the time, and I would just do it at the same time. But how does your brain take all of that? You know what I'm saying? When it comes to creative space. How do you switch that fast? Yeah. And is that easy or hard for you? And give me advice on how to do that, because you're a very interesting individual because you got electrical engineering. That I don't know how different that is from painting, but it seems really, really different.
Yeah.
And business and any creation is way different. Me being on the silks and making stuff is so much different than me dealing with who's paid me when and confirming with their appointments. How do you do that, and how would you? Yeah,
and your artwork is so physical with the silks. It's
so then there's the recovery portion of it, but how do you separate it? How do you go from one to the other? Is that hard for you?
Well, it is. It is, but I'm probably not a good example, right? Because I do have, for better or for worse, the engineering background that I, for decades, lived in. And I guess I'll say that it helps me in that sense. Because as I said before, I had to sit down, and I'm a planner. I had a good friend of mine tell me, "Oh, I get it now, Eric. You're an artist, but you're not artsy." And so I'm just not the typical, stereotype of an artist who's just all over the place all the time. So the way that I do this is by, planning time, planning resources, and giving things. And I live by my do list, and by what, at least what's on the calendar is supposed to happen each day. So I do that. And it probably comes from my unique background, and I'm wired that way. I think other people would probably that would be a great failure for them if they approached it that way. I would say the one thing that helps, or that helped me, is to embrace who I am holistically. Right? And I'm grateful that I can do both when I need to. Not that it always works, but if you just give yourself a break and let yourself be who you are wired to be, you'll naturally do a better job at whatever's in front of you. Whether, okay, I'm an artist now and I'm doing my artwork, or no, I'm at work now and I need to, take on the role that I'm responsible for. Bring to the table what you're gifted at. I think one of the things that makes, and not just me, I don't know, talking about myself, but I've noticed this in my engineering career. I'd run into other people who would prefer to be a full-time musician, or would prefer to be, you name it, on stage. And one of the things they brought to the table was this creativeness that I'll say most engineers didn't have. Because most left brain engineering types are, they memorize well, they learn the concept, they apply it, but to think outside the box is a stretch for them. Whereas artists are just kind of wired to think outside the box, and whatever that phrase means, but to think creatively. So it was a benefit, I think, for those folks and for my career. For artists, is it too much to say maybe a lot of artists would benefit from a little more structure? I don't know.
I think about this all the time because I used to work with the director of a dance show. She did all the choreography and stuff, and I was kind of leading up the PR side of it and like getting the tickets sold. And she struck me, and this is in my 20s, she struck me as what I considered a quote unquote pure artist. She would lose days and weeks in a dance studio. Bills aren't paid. Like phone calls aren't answered. But what she came out with when she came out of her hole was absolutely fucking genius.
Yeah. And
I always thought, as I kind of consider myself in that category too. I didn't think of myself as 100% artist because like I would pay a lot of attention to the business side. I would pay a lot of attention to my bills and what needs to come next so that I could put food on my table.
Yeah.
And I would always think to myself, am I going to be always a lesser artist than that because I don't go into a cave? And it's a question that I think about all the time when it comes up because I don't have the answer to the question. Do you think that in your work you've come up with that answer?
No.
No, okay.
But I absolutely relate to what you're saying. I'm trying to think. There was a quote from Gibbon, the guy who wrote The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. He said that genius is often expressed in solitude, and I'm probably misquoting that, but the concept, the idea that real genius is often something that's one person in isolation doing their thing. In depth. And I think that's a real phenomenon. Now, I don't know if you can live in that space all the time, what that does for society, probably not good things. But brilliance sometimes needs that much attention, right?
Or that much, lack of a better word, obsessiveness.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to be obsessed with something and then look at your calendar, see at 4:00 you're supposed to switch over to like business mode and then just snap you know what I'm saying? That can feel really hard for some artists. And then, so I have done math, I think, and I think that we're both Gen X. I'm a young Gen Xer.
Yeah,
you're just Gen
barely
X.
Gen Xer, so I was like the first year that they.
Okay, yeah, so we're on both ends of that generational spectrum because I was born in 77.
Okay.
So why I bring that up is because I'm like in that weird generation where I'm not uncomfortable with social media, but I'm also not very comfortable with it. Like like TikTok, like I sit down with my 20-year-old clients and I ask them to help me, right?
Yeah.
Now, have you used social media as a tool? Have you embraced it?
Oh my, I wish I had a better answer for you.
Maybe the answer is no. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the answer is no. I try, right? I get the value of it. But yeah, here I am. I'm a technologist, I'm like, I built networks, but But to use the application that rides on top, the social media thing, is just, no, I don't do it well. That's the short answer.
So it's one of these, I always wonder, because I also do know some like salon, like I think there's my client's mom is a salon. She has her own salon. And she is so good at Instagram that she's better than her daughter, who also has a salon.
Huh.
I was like, this woman had to just reach outside of her comfort zone at some point and learn it and then really capitalize on it. So that's always so impressive to me, because even at my age, I'm like reaching a little bit, because it's not like I basically was in college by the time I think it was out of college. I had my first cell phone. My child, she knows everything. She can help me with my phone if she wanted to, and she's 6, right?
Right.
I want to ask you, Eric, so as an artist, I think that as we grow up and as we get older, the texture of our art changes because of our life experience. Has that happened in your life? And in what way can you see it when we look at a painting? Or is it more internal? What's your journey with that? Because this could just be a phone call, because I just want to know for me. It's interesting to me,
Yeah, I'm curious about your journey too. I mean, you were, very professional, professional artist for much of your life. So that's not something that I can say. So yeah, it does. I think my artwork in particular, just probably reflects shifts in my growth. You can certainly see. I didn't seriously paint until I had a midlife crisis in I don't know, how old was I? Late 30s or something. And I just sat down and decided I was going to paint an oil painting, and I made a mess, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then there was a lot of experimentation for a long, long time, because it was all just paint when I could, and I was still working full time. But at the tail end of my engineering career, I started setting aside time. I even started working part-time, and I painted 1 day a week. And you'll see a series of paintings I called Neighbors, which reflects something I still hold to, is this notion of being aware of, the other 6 billion people on the earth and their dilemmas. The fact that we live in the wealthiest society that has ever been on the face of the earth. Wealthy in the sense that it's more evenly distributed than it's ever been, even though I know that's changing. I know, and it's not a good thing to see. But in general, we live in a wealthy society. And I think, at least when I was painting those paintings, which is now, 10, 15 years ago, when I started, I felt like most Americans weren't aware of that. Are you aware that 2 out of 5 people don't have safe water to drink? That there are still human beings who are actually in slavery now, and the numbers are huge. So I did a series of paintings about that. Just called them Neighbors. It was every painting was a representative of an at-risk people group, and then each painting was associated with a nonprofit who was doing work, to try and engage and help that particular people group. So there's that, which reflects who I was at the time. And so that has changed. I don't do that anymore. A lot of that had to do with events. I mean, COVID came along, and again, I was maturing and realizing I wasn't traveling as much. I wasn't engaged as much as I was in the developing world. So I thought, that's really not my story anymore. And so my painting changed as well. And I got into, I wanted this passion I had to enrich other people's lives. And again, I think because I am naturally an introvert, I struggle to connect with people, to give back, and to, enrich people's lives. And I yearn to do that. And so I wanted to do that through my paintings. And so the paintings took a different direction and started to be about celebrating time with friends and family, and, that transient transformative thing that happens with when people get together and not in conflict, but just to share time with one another. So that's the direction my paintings have gone since then. And the latest thing I just kind of wrapped up is a series I call Tasting Notes, which is really just a fun exercise about sharing wine among friends and the joy of just relaxing and talking about what you're sipping, So that's I probably have a few more paintings in me with that theme, and then I'll probably move on to something else. But when you asked me the question, I thought, well, this is going to be tough because, again, I haven't been a professional artist for 35 years or 40 years. I'm a pretty young artist in the sense that this is my second career, and it really only started in earnest about 5 or 6 years ago.
Well, I have a friend who I knew in college, and I went to Oberlin. Have you heard of it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I wasn't a musician. I was, I had a BA in politics, but one of my friends, he's now an opera singer, and he took 10 years off in between, which you do not do if you're an opera singer. And he started back, and he sang the national anthem because he was asked to, and he found another voice when he opened his mouth. And that's another story where I was just like so fascinated because depending on what your modality is, like what your art form is, so many things come into play. His vocal cords, my instrument is getting older, and dancers younger is better. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
But with painting, with drawing, with musicians, some of them with actors, sometimes those people can have their peak at 90 years old. Whereas for me, it slides around because you have that direct correlation with your body's ability to do the thing. So not that there's like a point. I'm just so fascinated because you're working with a different medium, and you can do that. I mean, if your hands work and if your brain works, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so you're in Granville. You have it there. My friends, there's a lot of people in the Central Ohio region that listen to this because we do try to go local a lot. What would you say to young people who are trying to find their way as artists? What advice would you give if they have that spark already?
Oh, wow.
But they just don't know which direction to go in, maybe.
Yeah. Wow. Am I the one? Well, first of all, let's qualify that I'm probably not the best person to give such advice.
I don't know. I mean, just because you went off and did, electrical engineering, that doesn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That doesn't disqualify it, I think.
Okay. Well, let's go in that direction. Yeah. Now that I'm a father and a grandfather, and because I am a certified old pragmatist, I would say don't be ashamed to take a sober understanding of the challenge that's in front of you.
That is amazing that you just said that.
Yeah, I mean, if you really endeavor to be a full-time artist, which is a noble thing, bear in mind the success rate it's like being a Hollywood actor. I mean, you're less than 1% success rate, right? I mean, that's just the reality of the calling to be a full-time artist. Artists are vital to humanity. Don't get me wrong on this point, right? I mean, we are less human if we don't express ourselves artistically. But does that mean that, from the day you leave high school, that's all that you go and do? Well, I would say that there's no shame in mastering something that pays the bills and launching when the opportunity arises, right? And of course, opportunity is only an opportunity if you prepare yourself for it. So, there's nothing wrong with, another vocation that enables you to pay the bills. But make an informed decision about that, right? What is it I can do that will allow me to, achieve life goals, whatever your life goals are? Mostly feed yourself, start with that one. And yet also allows you to explore the artistic expression that you have on your heart. Now, and that's not an easy thing to do, right? Most young people need time to even figure out what they can do or what they want to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, wow, that would be the best advice I could come up with. It's yeah.
I had such a strong feeling, a strong reaction when you said that, because that would have been really great to hear from somebody like you when I was that age, because my parents, again, Chinese American, like in the back of their minds, they're like, you can either be a doctor or a lawyer. Which one would you like? And so there was none of this nuance of like, yes, but, because you can do it, but you have to make it work. Because it was black and white, they ended up supporting me financially when I was in my 20s because I wanted to do it. So they didn't cast me out. They didn't do any of those things. They did, again, what they had, right, in their hearts, because they were just so scared that I wasn't going to make it, blah, blah, blah.
And they wanted the best for you.
They wanted the best for me, but because in their minds it was like, oh, she's obviously making a terrible fucking decision right now. Let's just make sure she doesn't, go into debt or starve. That was the reaction that I got from them. Yeah. The reaction that I did not get from them was, this is valuable, this is worthy, but this is not going to put food on your table. So you have to be diligent and you have to be mindful and you have to have a different strategy with that in mind. And it's hard coming from scared parents, which is what I had, rather than having an understanding of that and then having understanding of the reality of life, which I got taught to me by actual life. Of course, all of us do. But I think that is what I would have wanted, or maybe not would have wanted to hear, but needed to hear back then, because I also needed my heart validated that it was so strong in me. I was so obsessed. My first career, my dance career. I'm not as talented as the people around me were when I moved to LA, but I was so obsessed, and I was successful because of that. I think, and I had enough talent.
Yeah.
I use the word obsessed because it was single-minded. It was single-minded, and I know you had a different trajectory, and so it is different, but I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I just really appreciate that, because I feel like it's like a dose of reality plus giving you value in what is actually real that's happening in a young artist. Because most young artists that can't think of anything else, it's really hard to just go it's really hard to just brush it to the side. It doesn't really work if that feeling's real.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to brush it to the side. And finding a vocation that somehow aligns or is closer to the thing that's really on your heart, I think that's wise as well. I think of one of the artists that I really admire, Joseph LaRusso. If you look at his work, it's amazing. And he took a different path. He went to art school out of high school, and just full on visual artist. And but he graduated and he went to work for Hallmark Cards. He had a no kidding day job as an artist. And it certainly wasn't his great passion, but he did that to have a living for a long time,
And it was close enough to give him a little bit of
And then he eventually branched out, and now he makes this amazing fine art. But I think too of people like Samuel Morse, who wanted nothing more than to be a fine artist. Traveled here, because this is 100 years ago or more. Traveled to Europe as you did in those days. Gave it everything he got. He had, and he was almost suicidal because he couldn't reach the level of excellence in his oil painting that he wanted to reach. And came back from Europe, and while he's on the ship coming back to America, feeling himself a failure, gets this idea and he invents the Morse code.
Wow.
And
I did not know that story.
Yeah, that's Samuel Morse. So yeah, if you look up his paint, he's actually a great painter. I don't know why he was so down on himself, but so that's a story of, passionate artist wound up as an engineer, which is, the upside down of what I did. But yeah, find it where you are, right? I mean, find a way to be who you are, where you are. And the decisions you make out of that probably don't look like anything that others would think was the wisest choice, right?
Wow. Caleb's lucky kid. Have a great dad.
He would not have said that when he was 15.
None of us would. Eric, thank you for your time. I've taken too much of it, but thank you for your time. Where can people find you?
EricMize.com. It's ERIC. Mize is easy, MIZE.com. And the gallery is the Front Porch Guild, which is at 124 South Main in Granville, Ohio. So if you the intersection of Broadway and Main, just go south and just walk, 100 yards, and there we are. Yeah,
there's like one light in Granville.
Yeah.
It's not hard to find. Next time I'm home, I'm 100% coming to visit you. But thank you so much for your time, Eric. I appreciate that.
Well, I really appreciate you giving me a chance to ponder these things. I hope some of it was fun and useful.
Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find Amanda Ritchie at Grounded in Flight on Instagram and at Noah Doc on Instagram, as well as Red Flags app. And me, Kerry Wee, you can find at wrapyourheadaroundsilks.com. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. We have so much more coming at you, including guests that are in this art world, that are blazing their way through new businesses, and just more banter from us. Thank you for listening. This is The Artist Entrepreneur.